Hello, candle lovers. Thanks for tuning in to me today. My name is Greg. This is all about candles. Happy Sunday, everyone. We've made it to the end of another week. Every Sunday, I like to do the weekly wax wrap up. This is a rundown of all of the candles that I finished burning this week, how they smelled, how they performed, all that good stuff. And man, let me tell you, friends, I have a lot of candles to go through this week. So grab yourselves a snack. And just so you know, I do timestamp all of my videos. So if you click below, you can fast forward to whichever candles you might be most interested in hearing about. I also have full-length reviews out for a lot of these candles, so I will link to those in the description box below. Part of the reason why I have so many candles is that we are nearing the end of spring. Even though I keep burning spring stuff well into May, I have this bad habit, especially with my 3-wick candles, that at the beginning of the season, I will burn a lot of candles down to the halfway point or the 2/3 point, and then forget about them for quite a while. And so then towards the end of the season, it's a little bit of a mad rush to finish burning through a lot of the candles that I started burning at the beginning of the season. You know what I mean? But anyways, so there's a lot to get through. Let's just dive right into it. I finished up this coconut Pina Colada from Bath and Body Works. I thought that the packaging on this collection was nice enough. My favorite candle in this collection was the Sea Salt and Caribbean candle. And I thought that the lid is always a nice touch. I like that the colored vessel is a little bit opaque so you can see through it. It looked really pretty when it was burning. The scent notes on coconut Pina Colada are coconut milk, blended pineapple, and a splash of rum. This fragrance was nice enough, but it didn't thrill me, to be honest with you. I think that where this candle kind of loses me is that there is a top note of a fairly sharp, slightly acidic, very bright, and a little bit artificial pineapple note, a bright, high pineapple note on top that comes across as a little artificial to me. And for me, that really kind of threw off the balance of this candle. The main component in this candle, the mid-level scent that you're getting, is a fairly nice, creamy coconut. And there's also a slightly boozy component in this candle as well. However, when it comes to coconut candles from Bath and Body Works at this time of year, there are so many options. I actually prefer Tiki Beach over this candle. I think my favorite coconut candle from BBW right now is Mahogany Coconut. So this was a nice enough fragrance. And when I posted the full-length review of this candle, a lot of you all really liked this one. For me, it was kind of a meh, nothing to write home about, but a nice enough fragrance. The candle performed quite decently. It was a really nice, clean burn all the way down to the bottom there. You can see that one of the wicks just kept on going and is still standing up really tall there. Burned it all the way down until there was nothing left and I could see the wick nickels. I'd say that the strength and throw on this candle was probably a 6 in my more open area and maybe a 6.5 in a more medium space like my bedroom. So not a super strong performer either, which is why it won't be a repurchase for me. I don't have a problem recommending this candle though, especially if you can smell it in the store. If you can get behind that bright pineapple note on top, I can confirm that the candle burned fairly nicely from top to bottom and had a medium strength and throw on it, so not that bad. I also finished up a watermelon lemonade from Bath and Body Works. This is from the White Barn Spring and Summer collection, probably I think from 2023. I thought they did a nice job this year with the White Barn candles. They were in a colored vessel with sort of an ombre sort of fade to them. I thought that they looked really, really nice. Watermelon lemonade is one of the very few fruity, summery drink candles from Bath and Body Works that I enjoy. The scent notes on it are watermelon ice, sparkling water, and Meyer lemon. And yeah, I mean, this is a pretty straightforward fragrance. Not not a lot of nuance to it. It really does smell like a nice, fresh watermelon lemonade, and it performed quite nicely. It burned really nice and clean all the way down to the bottom there. I think I might have let that last burn go off for a little bit too long, which is why you see the discoloration. As you can see, the wicks are still standing up pretty tall, so I just had to call it a day once it started getting a little bit dirty right at the very end there. I'd say that the strength and throw on this candle was pretty good, like a 6.5 in my more open space and a 7 in like a bedroom. So not bad strength and throw, not bad performance. This candle's been around forever. A lot of people like it, including myself. Not usually the type of candle that is in my wheelhouse. I tend to stay away from fruity candles from Bath & Body Works. I think that most of them have fairly synthesized artificial vibe to them, but something about this watermelon lemonade I just find really lovely and refreshing and nice and strong, so I enjoyed that. I probably will repurchase it again at some point in the future, and I have no problem recommending it to you as well. Also finished off this Afternoon Rainfall from Bath & Body Works. I believe that this collection came out in like the last wave of Candle Day candles in 2023. These jars were so beautiful. They sort of had this like hand painted vibe to them. Nice cream colored lid on there. The scent notes on Afternoon Rainfall are soft raindrops tapping at your window, fresh aloe blossoms, and a hint of musk. I always think that there is an apple note in this candle. Not a really strong one, but I've always picked up on apple, and I've always been a little confused that there is no apple note in the scent notes here. They do say there's a hint of musk, but that hint must be so hinting that you can barely detect it at all. For me, this candle smells like aloe and apples with a slightly aquatic note to it, but that aquatic note could just be coming from the aloe. I swear there's an apple note in this one. Nothing fantastic. I just thought that this collection was so beautiful. I bought so many of these candles. In this collection, we also had Palo Santo, Lavender Vanilla, and Vanilla Birch, and those are three of my favorite candles from Bath & Body Works. And so I scooped up some of these too. You know when you do that like dumb thing where you might buy a candle in a fragrance that you don't particularly love, but you thought that the collection was so nice and so beautiful, you kind of want to have it completed? That's part of the reason why Afternoon Rainfall has, fallen into my house. This is the second one that I've burned of Afternoon Rainfall, and it will be the last because I'm all out. This isn't going to be a repurchase for me. I'm not sure if I would recommend it. It's pretty unremarkable in my opinion. It performed decently though. I burned it all the way down until there was nothing left. That like dirtiness that you see happened like just at the very end there. Overall, from top to bottom, it was a nice clean burn, and I'd say that it was like a 6.5 for strength and throw. For whatever reason, once I got down to like the last third of it, and maybe it started getting a little bit dirty, which plays into this. It was the last third of the candle where I was kind of getting that like apple-ish, urine-y kind of vibe even more. And so I kind of called it a day when I had this much left in there. Not a terrible fragrance, not something that I'm going to be repurchasing anytime soon. But if those kinds of fragrances are up your alley, I'll recommend it to you. Overall, it burned pretty nicely, and a 6.5 for strength and throw isn't terrible for Bath & Body Works these days. I also finished up Fresh Cut Lilacs, and this is the most recent version of this candle that is on the floor right now. I do like an opaque colored glass in a candle because you can sort of see through it and it casts a nice sort of shadowy color. And the lid on these candles I thought were pretty cute as well. I also finished up a Fresh Cut Lilacs from last year, and I've got to say that the packaging on this collection was everything. It's kind of like a painted like glass, like a painted window vibe here. And this candle just looked absolutely stunning when it was burning. I will say that these two candles performed pretty much identically for me, so I don't think that they've changed the formula from last year's version to this year's version. But what I will say is that Fresh Cut Lilacs used to be like a 9 for strength and throw, like one of the strongest candles that Bath & Body Works has, and it just hasn't been that strong for a while now. I'd say that this maxed out at about a 7 for strength and throw. The scent notes on it are lilac bouquets, dewy greens, and soft spring air. I feel like most of us know what this candle smells like. It's fairly straightforward. It's quite literal. There's not a lot going on in here other than that really fresh lilac note. I do appreciate that there's a bit of a greenness to this candle, like the stems of a lilac flower. It does come across as quite sweet and dewy and fresh. And like I said, it's still one of the stronger candles that Bath & Body Works puts out. But for the last couple of years, these have been two of the weakest iterations that I've come across. Still probably a 7 for strength and throw. I'd definitely give this one a 7, and that's in my more open space. I'd say in my bedroom it gets to like a 7.5 or an 8. So still really reasonable for strength and throw, just not quite the crazy powerhouse that it used to be. So performance-wise, it was nice and strong. And this one was a really nice clean burn too. I burned it all the way down until I could see the wick nickels. There's about this much left in here. I just decided to call it a day. I had been burning a lot of Fresh Cut Lilacs for a while, so I've definitely had my fill for this year. Yeah, no real complaints about this candle. I buy a Fresh Cut Lilacs pretty much every year, so it's definitely going to be a repurchase for me and a recommendation for you if you're into fragrances like that. I also finished up this Sundrenched Linen. This White Barn core line has just been revamped, and I've got to say that the newer version of this candle I actually have here. This is what's on the floor right now, and I think that they didn't make tons of changes to this collection, but the small changes that they did make, I think, work really well. It's now sort of like a glossy colored glass with a colored lid on them. And, you know, like I said, not a whole lot of difference, but the newer ones do look a lot nicer and a lot more modern. We've also got like a White Barn stamp on there. I haven't started burning this version of it yet, and I was gonna do a full-length review, but I'm gonna do the full-length review when I'm done burning the newer version so that I can speak specifically to the fragrance and the performance on the new one. As far as this older one, this has always been one of my favorite sort of laundry candles from Bath & Body Works. I think this candle is a lot nicer and a lot more nuanced than Laundry Day, although it's not quite as strong as Laundry Day. There is sort of a nice, sort of bright, sunny vibe to this candle. The scent notes are clean, cool linen, crisp tart apple, and soft musk. It's got a really nice, like, sunny, airy vibe to it. I've always liked Sundrenched Linen, I have to say. It's one of the few candles in this White Barn core line that I pick up on a regular basis, and it always performs pretty well too. However, I did run into a bit of an issue with this one. I'd say that the strength and throw is pretty good. When this candle is burning, I'd say that it's gotta be like a 6.5 or a 7 for strength and throw, depending on the space that you have it in. So it's definitely got a presence. However, when I burned it here, I let it burn for way too long. I got distracted with something and I got super busy, and I probably let this burn for like 4 or 5 hours, which is why it got a little bit discolored and started sooting on me. And so I put the rest of this candle under a heat lamp in my kitchen, and I finished off the last like third of it that way because I was kind of scared to burn it after the wax had gotten so dark, I figured it was probably going to continue to soot quite a bit for a while. There's not that much fragrance left in here, but I do like Sundrenched Linen, and I'm really going to be interested to see how this newer version of it performs. So yeah, also finished up a Mahogany Rose from Bath & Body Works, and I'm fairly certain, I think that we've come to a consensus that this Mahogany Rose candle is rose water and ivy mashed up with mahogany teak wood. You know how Bath & Body Works does those mashup candles? I think 1 or 2 years ago, one of their mashup candles was rose water and ivy and mahogany teak wood. And I don't know if that candle, I guess maybe it must have performed really well, because ever since that candle came out, they've been bringing out Mahogany Rose. And in fact, I believe that this is on the floor right now in newer packaging that looks like this. Anywho, I used this candle underneath a heat lamp in my kitchen. It was under there for like a week. The scent notes on it are rich mahogany, black teak wood, soft rose petals, and rain-kissed English ivy. And I like this fragrance. It's kind of a nice, deep, woodsy rose fragrance with just a little touch of like a lush greenery in there. I like it because it is a fairly like straightforward rose fragrance, but it's got a little bit of a depth and a richness and a woodiness to it that you don't usually get with rose fragrances. I don't hear a lot of people talking about this candle or saying that they like this candle, but I've got to say that I don't mind it at all. As you can see here, this candle spent its entire life under a heat lamp in my kitchen, and it was pretty strong that way. I'd say that the first couple of days, it was like a 7.5 for strength and throw. I do use a candle lamp with an adjustable head, and I use really powerful bulbs. So I put that lamp like an inch away from the top, and my candle lamp does liquefy an entire candle. People have mentioned a couple of times in my comment section, like, don't you remove like the top layer of wax from your candles when you're lamping them? And I don't. I just use a lamp that liquefies the entire candle. What I do once in a while is I'll use my wick dipper to give it a little bit of a stir, so it might stir up some of the fragrance in there. But for the most part, I'm able to lamp candles until there is like nothing left in them. And that's what I did with this. So I can't speak to the performance on this candle when it is burning, but I will say that under a heat lamp, you know, it starts out at like a 7.5, and I'd say it was around the 7 area for the first couple of days, but then obviously it gets a little bit weaker and weaker and weaker with subsequent like lamping. And so yeah, no, but it was really nice and strong. It filled my entire kitchen for sure. I also finished up Blue Sky Breeze from Bath & Body Works. This is fairly old. I feel like this came out 2 or 3 spring seasons ago. I quite like Blue Sky Breeze. This is another one of those candles with an apple fragrance in it that I can tolerate for whatever reason. The scent notes are morning spring air, fresh violet petals, crisp gala apple, and English ivy. I think this is really nice. There is sort of a breezy, open air kind of like sky component to this candle with a little bit of like a green note, a little bit of an apple, but it's a very fresh, like watery, crisp apple. It's really nice. I like Blue Sky Breeze. But I also screwed this candle up, you guys. I'd say that when I was burning this candle, it was probably about a 6 for strength and throw in my more open area, but I also forgot about this one. And I think I let this candle burn for like 5 or 6 hours at one point. Oopsie. I've been really busy. All these You guys, never leave a burning candle unattended. And I don't leave them unattended, but sometimes I do forget to check in on them and I forget how long I've been burning them for. And that is what happened with this candle, and that is why the wax looks so bad in there. You know, performance-wise, the first half of the candle, it did really well. There was good strength and throw, but on the last burn, I looked over at it and I was like, whoops! The wax had gotten really, really dark and swirly. But then once I let the candle cool, I smelled it and it didn't actually smell like the fragrance had been compromised that badly. And so I put the last half of this candle under a heat lamp and just sucked the rest of the fragrance out of it that way. And I enjoyed it. Like I said, I'd say when it was burning in a more open space, it was like a 6 or a 6.5 for strength and throw. And when I was lamping the last half of it, I'd say it was about the same. Probably like a 6.5 for strength and throw under the lamp. Not much left in there. This was a nice one though. Okay, moving on. I also finished up an iced lemon pound cake from that same spring collection that came out a while back. This is one of the gourmand candles from Bath & Body Works that I purchase pretty much every year and I really enjoy. I didn't purchase the new version of it this year because I had quite a few. I think that I got a bunch of these at semi-annual sale at one point for like 75% off. The scent notes on iced lemon pound cake are sugary glazed icing, pure lemon zest, pound cake, and whipped cream. I am not like a big gourmand person. I like gourmands. I go through a pretty reasonable amount of gourmands, but it's not my favorite genre of candle fragrance by any means. But when I find one that I like, I really like it. Some of my favorite gourmands from Bath & Body Works are probably Berry Waffle Cone, Summer Boardwalk, and Iced Lemon Pound Cake. I think this candle is done so well. It's got a really like buttery, like cake battery vibe. It's a nice lemon note. The lemon note in here, I've actually thought has always been quite nice and authentic, almost a little bit more like a lemon zest than like the juicy like inside of a lemon. It's fairly sweet, but not overly sweet. It's got a nice sort of starchy bakery gourmandy component to it and a real like butteriness. I always think that this candle smells good and it always performs pretty well too. I let this candle are you guys noticing a pattern here? I probably let the last burn on this candle go for a little bit longer than I should have, which is why you're seeing the discoloration. It was a really, really beautiful yellow wax when this candle was first starting out, but that last burn on it, I let it go off for too long and it kind of discolored the whole thing. But performance-wise, it did really well. I'd say that the strength and throw on this is a pretty solid 7, and that's in my more open area. Like, definitely has a nice strong presence to it. 7 in the open area. I don't think I ever put this in the bedroom, but if I did put it in the bedroom, I bet it would be like a 7.5 or an 8 in there. It was a really nice clean burn all the way up until the end when I forgot about it and screwed it up. Have I been getting like really distracted this week? There were quite a few incidences this week where I completely like forgot to check on my candles and blow them out. I also finished up a lavender vanilla, and this is from Goose Creek. And I enjoyed this candle a fair bit, but this candle did get fairly dirty at the end there, and that is not because I let it burn for too long. I usually limit my burn times on Goose Creek candles to about 2 hours. I feel like that is the best way to ensure that they don't soot and they stay nice and clean. You gotta limit those burn times on Goose Creek. The scent notes on this one are French lavender, white jasmine, vanilla bean, and smooth amber. Really nice fragrance. This came out in Goose Creek's Odor Eliminating collection, which I think is just marketing, because this exact same fragrance also came out in their Aromatherapy collection. And I've burned both of them, and I couldn't find any difference in fragrance or in performance between the two different versions of Lavender Vanilla from Goose Creek. But this is a nice one. It's very, very smooth. There's a really nice, like, vanilla and amber note in the base of this candle that I just loved. This is an unmistakably lavender candle for sure. It is a fairly straightforward, slightly sharp lavender note, but it's balanced quite nicely with the amber and the vanilla in here. And I enjoyed the fragrance. I burned a lot of lavender vanilla candles this spring. I burned the lavender vanilla from Bath and Body Works. I burned a lavender vanilla from Homeworks, and I burned this one from Goose Creek. I'd have to say that I think overall the best candle was the Bath and Body Works lavender vanilla. It's a really nice balanced fragrance. The version that I burned this year was in a beautiful, beautiful jar, and the strength and throw on that one was like a 7. Now, the Homeworks lavender vanilla candle, I would say, was the nicest fragrance, but the performance on that candle was terrible. It was like maybe a 5 or a 5.5 for strength and throw. And like lavender and vanilla, lavender fragrances are not that hard to project. So I was really disappointed that the Homeworks one was so weak. So in between the Bath and Body Works, which I think was the best, and the Homeworks, which I think was kind of the worst, I'd say that the Goose Creek lavender vanilla falls in between. It's a nice fragrance. It was nice and strong. I'd say that this was a very solid, like, 7 for strength and throw. A 7 in the bedroom. I kept this in the bedroom most of the time. It definitely had a presence to it. Not a terrible performer, but I mean, I limit my burn times on Goose Creek, and I am at about this point here, and it just got a little bit too murky and dirty for me to continue. And I do think that the fragrance got a little bit compromised from all that murkiness. Yeah, and like I said, you guys, this was not my fault. I did not accidentally let this one burn for too long. I'm really careful with Goose Creek not to let them go off forever. So yeah, this particular one, a little bit of a dirty burn for me. But it was a nice fragrance. I think I probably will repurchase this one, you guys. I probably will. I liked it enough. I also finished up a Pop-Tarts candle from Goose Creek. This one is Frosted S'mores. You know, I told myself that I wasn't gonna buy any of the Goose Creek Pop-Tart or M&M fragrances. I was so tempted just for like the funness and like the nostalgia of it, but I'm not a huge gourmand person, so I told myself I wasn't gonna buy these. But then they specifically put some of their licensed candles on sale, like the Pop-Tarts and the M&M candles. They put on sale for like $8 or $9 Canadian, which is an incredible price that even from Goose Creek in Canada, you almost never see Goose Creek drop their candles. Even with the good sales, you never see them drop the prices below that $10 mark for the Canadian website. And so when these went down to like $8 or $9, I was like, oh, fine, gun to my head. Let me order almost all of them. And so it's gonna take me a while to go through these, because with gourmand fragrances, I tend to like putting gourmand fragrances under the heat lamp in my kitchen. And let me tell you, folks, this one was so strong. The scent notes on it are warm pastry, chocolate marshmallows, and frosted sugar. And you know what? I don't really pick up on frosted sugar or marshmallows that much, or pastry, to be honest with you. This is just a really, really chocolatey candle. Really chocolatey. There's a little bit of a starchy gourmand component to this, but for the most part, this is just straight up like milk chocolate. I wouldn't say that it's like the smoothest, milkiest chocolate fragrance that I've ever had. There's something about it that's almost a little bit like sandy. You know, like I'm a big chocolate lover. I love chocolate. I love milk chocolate. And I'd say that this is kind of one of the like waxier, cheaper types of chocolate, you know? It's not a really nice, rich, authentic chocolate note. Something about this came across a little bit waxy and artificial to me. But man, did this candle perform under the heat lamp, you guys. My kitchen is probably like on the smaller to medium size. I don't spend a lot of time in my kitchen, which is why I only ever lamp candles in my kitchen. And I do not cook or bake, which is probably part of the reason why I like to put gourmand candles in my kitchen. So it does smell like someone in there might actually be using the oven. But I think that I'm gonna say that under the heat lamp in my medium-sized kitchen, this was a 10 for strength and throw. Oh my goodness. I actually dimmed my heat lamp a little bit. My heat lamp has like 3 different settings on it, like a light, a medium, and a really bright one. And I am almost always, you know me, I'm almost always full steam ahead, brightest setting, hottest setting possible. But this one I had to turn down. Once the entire candle had liquefied, my entire house started to smell kind of like cheap chocolate. And the other good thing about a heat lamp is that if I'm popping out to go grab something, I don't have to worry about blowing it out. I will leave candles under my heat lamp even if I'm not in the house for a little bit of time. And when I like walked up to my door, once I got back home, I was still outside. Walk up to my door and I could smell it. My kitchen is fairly close to like the front of my place, but just approaching my front door, I could smell the chocolate emanating. And then when I walked into my house, my entire house just smelled like Willy Wonka's freaking chocolate factory. Oh my goodness, this was strong. So if you put this in a candle crock or under a powerful candle lamp, I'll say you're gonna get like a 9 or a 10 out of it. And so then I put my candle lamp on like the dimmest setting, which brought the strength and throw down to like a 7.5 or an 8, which I was happy with because it was nice and strong in my kitchen, but it wasn't completely overpowering my entire living space. Man, this was a strong one. I would love to know how strong this candle was when it was burning. I bet you that it was a powerhouse when it was burning too. Anyways, Pop-Tarts, chocolate s'mores, Goose Creek. Oh, this was a lovely one, and it hasn't come back yet this year. This is Sunlit Shores from Goose Creek. And I bought this last year, and I'm really hoping that we're still gonna see this candle come back this summer because I really, really liked this one. The scent notes on it are warm white sands, amber, sandalwood, and vanilla. And you know what I think this is a little bit of a dupe of? Fiji White Sands by Bath & Body Works. Because Fiji White Sands, I think, has similar fragrance notes, but doesn't list coconut. And this candle as well, it says white sands, amber, sandalwood, vanilla, but something about these fragrances together gives it a really coconutty impression. There's a lot of vanilla in there, a nice creamy woodsiness, a little bit of a texture that definitely sort of brings to mind like a beach, like a sandy beach. This was really, really nice. I loved this fragrance. I love that vanilla note. I love the creamy woodsiness in here. And it's like a bright amber. Oh, this one was good. This candle performed really nicely for a Goose Creek candle. I burned it all the way down to I could see the wick nickels. Very little discoloration, like no discoloration, no sooting. This was a really, really nice clean burn all the way from the top to the bottom. And the strength and throw in my more open area was a very solid 7. This candle absolutely had a presence to it. It's a fair bit stronger than Fiji White Sands is, that's for sure. I never even put this in my bedroom. I bet you in my bedroom, this would have been like an 8 for strength and throw. No qualms about this candle, folks. Great performance, great fragrance. This will absolutely be a repurchase for me and a recommendation for you. I also finished up a candle from Illume. If you guys are interested in Illume at all, I just did like a candle haul of Illume fragrances like 2 weeks ago. This is one of their candles I've had hanging out for a long time here. This is Gardenia. And I can't say that I'm a big fan of the way that this candle looks like on the outside. I got this at a Winners for $12.99 there. However, these Illume candles have sort of a peekaboo like tin lid, and on the inside I thought that this candle looked really great. Sort of like this abstract, like contemporary kind of beachy design. I really like Illume. I think they have some lovely fragrances, and the scent notes for this candle are white floral, leafy greens, and smooth as velvet amber wood. This is one of my favorite Gardenia fragrances that I've come across, folks. This is really nice. The scent note says, it says white floral. I think that there's sort of a mix happening here of like a gardenia and a lily. There's even something slightly aquatic about it, which makes me think of water lily. There's also a woodsiness and a really nice, lush, leafy, sort of green fragrance note. I like it. It's almost like an aquatic gardenia scent. You know, the lush green note in here is a little bit watery. Like I said, it smells like there's a bit of a water lily white floral in here as well. But also, in the bottom of this fragrance, there's a slight ambery and woodsy note. A really light amber. It says, what does it say? Amber wood. I feel like there's a little bit of a cedary note in the base of this candle. Really interesting. Really lovely, really complex, but also nice and straightforward and well balanced. I thought this candle was just a lovely burn. I wish that the strength and throw had been a little bit better. I had this candle in my bedroom and in a hurricane, and it got up to about a 6. So it was adequate for my bedroom. As long as I had it in a hurricane, it was an adequate bedroom fragrance. I got a feeling that if I had put this in my more open area, it would have been quite lost. But I was able to get it up to a 6 for strength and throw in my bedroom, which I was happy about. I think I'll actually repurchase this candle. It's a single wick. These are 14-ounce candles. No, they're not. I'm sorry. Let me take that back. These are 11.8 ounces. So 12 ounces. So they're almost the size of a Bath and Body Works candle. They have quite a wide diameter here, so you have to make sure you're always giving yourself at least minimum an hour or 2 to make sure that it pools out. Because if you don't let these candles from Illume completely pool out, you are probably gonna have some like tunneling issues. So you've got to be prepared to burn it for, I'd say, at least 2 hours. I burned it all the way down till there was nothing left. This is a soy wax candle. I do see that at the end there, it got a little bit discolored, but I never noticed it getting like murky or sooting really badly or anything. I'd say that it was a fairly nice, clean performer from top to bottom. About a 6 for strength and throw in a medium space in a hurricane. Still gonna be a repurchase for me because I thought the fragrance was lovely. I think this might be my new favorite Gardenia fragrance, to be honest with you. I really enjoyed that. I also finished up this vanilla single wick candle from Bath and Body Works. If you guys have been watching my channel for a while, you know how obsessed I was with these like gray and black single wicks. They were all such simple and lovely fragrances. There was vanilla, there was orange blossom, there was amber, which was my favorite. There was cypress, which was also really good, and I loved this vanilla one. The scent notes on here are rich vanilla, fresh clove, and soft sandalwood. And I always thought that there was something a little bit smoky about this fragrance as well. If you don't like clove, this wasn't a really clovey candle. Like, I would never say that I'm picking up on clove when I'm smelling this candle. I think it's a bit of a misleading scent note. I think it makes you think it's gonna be a little bit more herbaceous and pungent than it is. It's really just a soft, smoky, woodsy vanilla, and it's just lovely. It's very well rounded, really nicely balanced. And I mean, it is a single wick, so the strength and throw is not great. I burned it in the small bathroom in a hurricane. And in the small bathroom in a hurricane, I'd say that it got up to like a 5.5 or a 6 for strength and throw. So, you know, it was good enough. It was appropriate for a bathroom candle. You don't want a powerhouse in like a small guest bathroom. This is a really nice, soft, lovely vanilla fragrance for in there. And I left it in there for a long time. One of the things I like about the single wicks from Bath & Body Works is you can really let them burn for a while as long as you stay on top of trimming the wicks. And yeah, I would light this candle up whenever I had company over, and I loved the way that it smelled in that small bathroom. Vanilla from Bath & Body Works. Oh, lovely fragrance. When it was semi-annual sale, apparently I'm the only person that really liked these candles. When it was semi-annual sale, I bought like 6 or 7 of each of these because they went down to like $4.61 or something like that when they were 75% off. Just love them. I've still got a lot more, so you'll be hearing from that black and gray single wick collection again, my friends. I picked up quite a few. Anyways, whew, that's all of the candles, folks. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 candles that I finished burning this week. But like I said, some of them I started burning at the beginning of spring, like this Gardenia candle. Even though I enjoyed it, I burned about half of it at the beginning of the spring and then kind of forgot about it for a while. So it was nice to get to finishing that one up. Same thing with this iced lemon pound cake. Like, I think I started burning this in like late February, just never got around to finishing it up. So it was definitely a week of finishing up half-burned candles. And I'm gonna warn you that the weekly wax wrap-up next week is gonna be similar. I have got a lot more spring candles with about a third left that I'm planning on getting through this week, my friends. So stay tuned for that. Anywho, how's everyone doing? How has your week been? How's your Sunday going? I've pre-recorded this video actually. If you are watching this on Sunday, I am currently in Vancouver at the Kylie Minogue concert with my boyfriend. He is a huge Kylie Minogue fan, and so am I. But for him, Kylie Minogue is like the queen of pop. I am much more of a Madonna person. But we've been together for like 4 years, and so we really respect each other's religious and spiritual beliefs. So we've made the pilgrimage to see Kylie Minogue. I'm sure that the show has been fabulous. I'm sure I'm having a great time. I'll give you guys the update on that on next week's weekly wax wrap up. I'm watching The Last of Us on HBO. If it's Sunday, then The Last of Us is happening, and it is a really good, really creepy, really powerful, really emotional zombie show. And I'm glad that it's on right now because Yellow Jackets just finished up, White Lotus just finished up. So the TV show that we're really into right now, our like weekly appointment viewing, is The Last of Us. It's got Pedro Pascal from Game of Thrones, who is absolutely amazing, as well as, oh my gosh, the young girl. She was in Game of Thrones too. The young girl, I feel like her name is Bella Ramsey. I think that's her name. What a spectacular young actress she is. I mean, all the performances in this show are really great. So every Sunday we've been pouring a glass of wine and really getting into that show. I highly recommend it as long as like zombie killer horror type stuff doesn't eke you out too much. That's all I've got for you folks today. Let me know in the comments below how your week's been. Let me know what you're burning right now. You know I always love love to hear from you. You guys can follow me on Instagram at allabootcandles. You can email me your burning questions to allabootcandles@gmail.com. If you could like this video, give me a thumbs up, subscribe to my channel. That would really mean the world to me. And until next time, my dear, gorgeous, and beautiful candle-loving friends, let's burn some candles and bitch about it. Thanks, you guys. Bye now.